My name is Hannah Cole. I'm 32 years old, and 3 weeks before my brother's wedding, he emailed me a document titled 5 Conditions for Your Attendance. At first, I thought it was a joke, but when I opened the attachment, I found a numbered list. At the bottom, he had written, "Complete these, and maybe you'll be worthy of standing beside us." Our parents were copied on the email. Neither of them defended me. My mother simply replied with a heart emoji and, "Please don't make this difficult." My brother demanded money, an apology, a family heirloom, and my signature on a legal document I had never agreed to sign. He also expected me to attend his wedding, stay quiet, and watch him present himself as the generous, successful son our family had always claimed he was. I read the list twice, laughed, closed my laptop, and booked a flight to Bali. Before I left, I sent one wedding gift inside a polished walnut box. My brother believed it contained the financial contribution he had demanded, so he planned to open it during the reception in front of his bride, her wealthy parents, our relatives, and nearly 200 guests. When he lifted the lid and saw the first page, all the color drained from his face. Then his new wife took the document from his shaking hands and read the sentence he had spent 6 months trying to keep hidden. Before I explain what she read and what happened after I walked away, tell me something. What time is it where you are? Where are you watching from? And what's the weather like today? Does it match your mood? I'm interested to see how far this story reaches. My brother's name is Daniel, and for most of my life, my family treated his mistakes like unavoidable accidents, while my sacrifices were seen as responsibilities I should accept without question. Daniel was 35, charming whenever he wanted something, apologetic only when consequences were close, and always surrounded by people ready to explain why his latest failure wasn't really his fault. Our parents, Elaine and Richard, called him ambitious. I called him careless with other people's money. I first recognized that pattern when I was 17. After drinking at a graduation party, Daniel took our father's pickup truck, backed it into a neighbor's stone wall, left it 3 blocks away, and called me at 2 in the morning. He cried, saying Dad would throw him out and Mom's blood pressure would rise if she found out the truth. I helped him bring the truck home and allowed our parents to believe I had taken it. I lost my driving privileges for 6 months and worked weekends to pay for the repairs. Daniel promised he would pay me back. He never did. Years later, he dropped out of community college and decided to open a restaurant in Sacramento. Our parents insisted that refusing to help would destroy his confidence. By then, I had built a stable career as a compliance manager for an investment firm in San Francisco, so everyone assumed I could afford to rescue him. I loaned him $84,000 with a written repayment agreement. He made payments for 4 months, missed the next 3, and eventually ignored every message I sent about the debt. The restaurant closed after 14 months. Daniel blamed the landlord, the chef, supply costs, online reviews, and the permit office. He never blamed the luxury car leased through the business or the private parties he hosted for friends without charging them. Our parents encouraged me to forgive the debt because he was trying to rebuild his life. I refused, but I also chose not to sue him. That was my compromise to keep peace within the family. The problem was that peace always meant Daniel stayed comfortable while I carried the loss. 2 years later, his fiancée, Sophie Langford, became part of the family. Sophie was polished, intelligent, and came from a family that owned a successful chain of commercial construction companies across California. She worked in brand strategy and genuinely seemed kind, but Daniel carefully managed what she knew about his financial situation. According to him, the failed restaurant had only been a small setback. He claimed our parents were wealthy and that I had willingly financed his projects because we were business partners. None of that was true. When Daniel and Sophie announced their engagement, the wedding expanded from a small vineyard ceremony into a luxury weekend in Napa Valley. There were custom invitations, imported flowers, a string quartet, private transportation, and a reception at a beautifully restored estate. Whenever our mother talked about the wedding plans, she spoke as though Daniel had personally paid for everything. I knew Sophie's parents were covering most of the expenses, yet Daniel repeatedly claimed he was paying his share. 2 months before the wedding, he casually asked me for $20,000. I refused. He smiled, said he understood, and moved on. 3 weeks later, his email arrived. The first condition required me to transfer $30,000 into a wedding account within 72 hours as my fair family contribution. The second required me to sign a release permanently forgiving the $84,000 restaurant loan. The third demanded that I give our late grandmother's sapphire bracelet to Sophie during the rehearsal dinner, because Daniel had already promised it to her as a family heirloom. The bracelet had been left specifically to me. The fourth condition required me to wear a taupe dress selected by the wedding stylist, attend without a guest, hand over my phone during the ceremony, and sit near the service entrance, because Daniel believed I might create uncomfortable conversations with Sophie's relatives. The fifth required me to read a prepared apology stating that my jealousy had damaged Daniel's confidence, describing the restaurant debt as a misunderstanding, and praising him for becoming the man our family had always believed he could be. At the bottom of the list, Daniel wrote, "There will be no negotiation. This is the most important weekend of my life, and I won't allow your bitterness to ruin it. You don't get to embarrass me. Mom and Dad have already told everyone you're coming. Sophie's father is expecting your contribution this week. Fix your attitude and call me." That message exposed another lie. Daniel had already told Sophie's father the money was guaranteed. Priya sent a limited legal notice to the Langford family's company attorney stating that I disputed every financial obligation connected to Cedar and Stone. Daniel had no idea it had already been sent. The night before my flight, Dad showed up at my apartment. He crossed his arms and told me I had 24 hours to stop acting like a victim. I asked if he had actually read the 5 conditions. He said the details didn't matter because weddings were stressful. Then I asked if he knew Daniel had promised Sophie's father $30,000 from me. Dad looked away. That told me everything I needed to know. He admitted Daniel needed the money because the Langfords expected our family to contribute. I reminded him that Daniel still owed me $84,000. "You earn more than he does," Dad replied. "So why do you need it so much?" I had heard different versions of that question my entire life. Why did I need my money? Why did I need my weekends, my reputation, my inheritance, or even the right to say no? Daniel's needs were always treated as urgent. Mine always required an explanation. I opened the door and asked Dad to leave. He warned me that missing the wedding would permanently divide the family. I answered, "The family has been divided every time you protected Daniel from the consequences of his actions. I'm simply no longer standing on the side that keeps getting sacrificed." The next morning, Mia drove me to the airport. Relatives had already started messaging because Daniel was telling everyone I had a work emergency. He had begun rewriting the story of my absence before I had even left. I turned off my notifications, checked my passport, and watched my suitcase disappear down the conveyor belt. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was running away. I felt like I had finally stopped letting everyone else push me backward. Bali didn't erase my fear. During the flight, I kept wanting to check my phone, call Mom, or ask Priya if I had gone too far. I imagined the version of the story my family was creating without me. Daniel would be the stressed groom, our parents would be the innocent victims, and I would become the bitter sister who chose a vacation over her family. That story only existed because I had protected it for years. When I landed in Denpasar, the wedding was 2 days away. I checked into a small resort near Ubud and listened to 23 voicemails. Most were from Mom. She said Sophie had started asking questions about the family contribution and that Daniel had become impossible to calm down. She begged me to call before he said something he couldn't take back. Daniel's first voicemail sounded controlled. "The wedding account needs the transfer by noon. Send the money, sign the release, and we'll talk about your vacation later." 40 minutes later, he was yelling, "You think you can hide on the other side of the world? You're responsible for this. You made a commitment to the family." In his final message, his voice became calmer. "Hannah, I'm your brother. Sophie's parents are watching everything. If this weekend falls apart, I'll never recover. Please don't do this to me." Even while asking for help, he described the consequences as something I was doing to him. I forwarded every recording to Priya and turned my phone off. The next morning, I joined a cooking class outside Ubud. I almost canceled because being alone with my thoughts felt even harder. While we ground spices by hand, I kept reaching for the phone in my bag. The instructor smiled and said, "You can't make this while your mind is somewhere else." He was talking about the food, but I understood the message. For 2 hours, I focused only on the task in front of me. I didn't suddenly feel healed. I simply felt present. When I returned to my room, I found an email from Sophie. "Daniel says you agreed to provide $30,000 and that the transfer is delayed because you're upset about your seating assignment. Is that true? My father's accounting team needs confirmation." Priya had advised me not to make unnecessary accusations, so I replied carefully. "I never agreed to provide wedding funds. I never authorized any loan or guarantee connected to Cedar and Stone events. My attorney has formally disputed documents carrying my name. Please ask Daniel to show you the original authorization he claims I signed." Sophie didn't respond. 1 hour later, Daniel called 12 times. Mom called 9 times. Dad sent one message: "Whatever you told Sophie, fix it now." That evening, Mia contacted me. Several of our cousins had forwarded screenshots from the wedding group chat. Daniel changed the schedule but kept the public gift presentation. He planned to explain my absence and had already told the guests I was traveling for confidential work. Mia asked if I wanted to stop the courier. I could have canceled the delivery. The investigation would have continued privately, and Sophie would have received the information through the attorneys. I could have avoided becoming the villain in every future version of the family story. Then Mia read another message from Daniel. "Hannah understands that family loyalty comes before personal feelings. Tomorrow, everyone will see how much she supports us." Once again, he was using my silence as approval. "Don't cancel it," I said. On the morning of the wedding, Mom messaged me saying Daniel had announced that I was giving the newlyweds enough money for the down payment on a new house. A short time later, Sophie contacted me again. "He showed me a guarantor form with your signature. He says your attorney is creating confusion because you regret the amount? Is that really your signature?" Priya approved a direct response. "No, I did not sign it." Sophie replied only with, "Understood." I spent the rest of the day away from my phone. While walking through the rice terraces, I realized how often I had mistaken anxiety for responsibility. Whenever Daniel created a crisis, the person who worried the most became responsible for fixing it. By late afternoon, I understood that guilt is not always a moral warning. Sometimes it is simply a habit taught by people who benefit from your obedience. The wedding ceremony took place while I was having dinner in Ubud. I didn't watch the live stream. According to Mia, Daniel and Sophie exchanged vows, but Sophie looked tense and left the photography session early. Her father spent most of cocktail hour on the phone. That same morning, the lender's fraud department had contacted his attorney. Daniel still believed my gift would save him. At 8:14 p.m. California time, the walnut box arrived at the reception. The courier's digital confirmation was sent directly to Priya. Daniel had placed a microphone beside the gift table. He gave a speech about siblings, forgiveness, and supporting family dreams. He told the guests that although I couldn't attend, my surprise gift proved I was finally ready to move forward. Then he invited Sophie and her parents to stand beside him. I was asleep when everything happened. Later, I learned the details through witnesses, a partial recording, and Daniel's own voicemails. He lifted the lid, saw the engraving, and smiled. The room applauded. He opened the black folder expecting to find a check. Instead, the first page began, "Daniel, you gave me 5 conditions for attending your wedding. Here is the only condition under which I will remain part of your life. You will never use my name, my money, my signature, my property, or my silence again." The next page was my identity theft affidavit. Daniel's smile disappeared. He tried to close the folder, but Sophie noticed the words Cedar and Stone Events printed across the following page. She reached for it. Daniel tried to pull it away. Sophie's father asked what he was holding. Daniel laughed nervously and described it as a private family disagreement. Then Sophie's sealed envelope slid across the table. She picked it up before he could stop her. By the time she finished reading the first document, Daniel's face had turned completely pale. Sophie didn't yell. The silence made the room even quieter. She stood beside the gift table, reading the forged guarantor documents, while Daniel quietly insisted everything was being taken out of context. Her father asked only one question. "Did Hannah sign this?" Daniel claimed. "I had verbally approved everything and was now hiding behind a technicality to punish him." Sophie pointed to my written denial and asked why he had demanded retroactive approval only days before the wedding. Daniel replied that I had become unstable over money. That explanation failed immediately because he had spent months describing me as a respected finance professional whose support proved his own credibility. Sophie's father called the attorney who had already been contacted by Priya. Daniel tried to take Sophie's phone. She stepped back and told him not to touch her. Our mother approached the table and insisted that siblings often sign documents for each other. She accused me of acting out of spite because I hated losing control. Then Sophie read Daniel's message out loud, the one demanding I sign the release and transfer $30,000 before the wedding. Daniel insisted the message had been altered. Sophie's father told him to unlock his phone and show the original conversation. He refused. That single refusal destroyed what remained of his story. The reception didn't fall apart all at once. It slowly unraveled as one truth after another surfaced beyond Daniel's control. Sophie left the ballroom with her mother and bridesmaids. Her father met privately with his attorney. The speeches were canceled. The band played only one set. The wedding cake remained untouched. Daniel moved from table to table, claiming I had fabricated the documents because I wanted ownership of his company. Unfortunately for him, the business registry confirmed I had never been an owner. The lender's records also showed he had used documents taken from the old restaurant loan. Every lie created another question. Dad called me over and over again. When I woke up in Bali, I had 41 missed calls. His first voicemail demanded that I tell Sophie the box was nothing more than a cruel prank. His second accused me of ruining the family's reputation. Later, his anger turned into fear. The bank had contacted him as well. Daniel had listed our parents as secondary investors and claimed they had pledged part of their home equity as backup security. Dad remembered signing one preliminary document because Daniel told him it was necessary to reserve the wedding venue. Daniel had simply added more pages afterward. I replied with one message. "Speak to an attorney. Do not destroy anything. All communication with me must go through Priya." Back at the reception, Sophie eventually returned without her wedding ring. Although the ceremony had already taken place, she told Daniel she would not leave with him or continue the marriage until a full financial investigation was completed. Daniel accused her family of caring only about money. Her father answered that the real issue was fraud. Then Daniel made his biggest mistake. He said Sophie's family could easily cover the debt and admitted he had always assumed her father would step in once they officially became family. Several guests heard him. Sophie asked quietly, "Was that your plan all along?" "That's what families do for each other," Daniel replied. It was the same sentence our parents had repeated to me for years. Only this time, he said it in front of people he couldn't manipulate. It sounded exactly as selfish as it truly was. Sophie left with her parents before midnight. Daniel remained behind with our parents and a shrinking group of relatives. Eventually, the wedding coordinator asked them to leave after Daniel argued with the staff and demanded access to the unopened gifts. He also searched for the sapphire bracelet. By then, the courier had already delivered it safely to Priya's office.